What's going on? We're back at it again with another episode of Team Chats with Brett Owens and your boy, James Gillespie. This is episode 7, I think that we said.
Yep.
And we have, only 1,993 left before we quit forever. So get ready for a lot of weeks in a row. Today, what we're going to talk about is sleep. Sleep is something obviously everyone and their damn mother knows is important, yet we somehow find a way to not prioritize it. We somehow find a way for it to be the last thing on the totem pole that we look at when we're living, right?
Mhm.
This hustle
Yep.
culture or our Netflix addictions or whatever have led us to a position where sleep is often overlooked, and it's something that if people got right, I think we'd be a little bit better off.
For sure. For sure.
Why don't you kick us off with kind of why this is important for us to talk about today? Because it's not like sleep is all of a sudden important and it wasn't yesterday.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I've been, having some conversations here and there with some folks, in the DMs or even just on social media in general, where um sleep is kind of getting enough sleep has been kind of the obstacle that they're running into. And I think that, like you said, like we all know that sleep is important, but there's still like I've seen there's people like myself who's like, okay, I struggle with the fact that like I'll think of like if I don't get the perfect amount of sleep tonight, that I'm just screwed. Tomorrow's gonna suck, and I've gotten over that, but I that's something that I struggled with a lot. And then there's some people who are on the opposite end of the spectrum who are just like they don't even consider sleep at all. Like I'm in the gaming world, right? I game a lot, and I know a lot of people in that space, and yeah, gamers and stuff. They don't have the best representation or reputation for their health a lot of the times, maybe sometimes, but not always. And there was like, for instance, there was one guy I was watching who was like playing something I can't remember, and he was like, all right guys, I got to be at work in 3 hours, so I got to head off to bed. And I'm like, bruh. So it's like you have some people who are like worried that they're if they get 1 hour or if they get 1 hour less of sleep, it's going to screw everything up. And then I've had some people who just like actively get 2 hours of sleep a night, and
Mm.
it can mess, that can obviously mess a lot of things up. So I just thought, why not, let's talk about it. Let's see what we can figure out here.
Yeah, which camp are you in?
I like to stay right in the middle now. I mean, I've definitely I used to fall under the like I have to get exactly 7 hours of sleep, or I have to get exactly 8 hours of sleep, or everything tomorrow is just going to be horrible. And with that attitude, of course, everything was. But once I got over that, and just was like, maybe tonight I'll get enough sleep, and things will be good. And if I don't, I still got the things I got to do tomorrow, regardless. So I like to uh, I like to stay in the middle as best I can, but I have fallen on that one side for a while.
Yeah, I think that's a weak mentality, but I think a lot of people have it.
Yeah.
And I think that you've got to not perhaps take either pole, right? Because
Hmm.
being in a position where sleep matters not, like at all, no stretch of the imagination, that'll render you dead at some point,
Hmm.
faster and with less quality of life on the down spiral than you would have had if you'd gotten some more sleep. But also, I think on the other side, if your your scenario has to be perfect for you to be productive. If your scenario has to be, you know, biohacked, you've got to get, your no nut November pre day ritual ready to roll in the morning. You got to do your cold plunge and your sauna and biohack your way to freedom.
Right.
It also doesn't really put you in the best position to be productive or to get done the things or be the person you want to really be. So I think that sleep is something that when I moved to Atlanta, actually, there's a guy by the name of we call him Father Doug, right? It's actually really just two Dougs, right? Doug Legg Jr., Doug Legg Sr. Super solid guys, right? Father, son. But Doug Legg Sr., who we called Father Doug because he was a wee bit older in our mastermind group. He was in his, 50s and we're all in our 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
And super funny that he would always, every single Sunday morning, I would be getting off the bar, right? When I first moved to Atlanta, Friday, Saturday night. We'd be there at Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and he'd be like, James, you got a lot of plaque. Got a lot of plaque built up today, buddy. You didn't sleep last night, did you? You went to bed at 4. You were up by 9. We're meeting by 10. That's a problem. You're going to die sooner. to give a little bit of background, I was in the bar scene from like 18 until about a year ago. And then every now and again I cover for somebody, right, and help them out back in the old swamp, the old homegrown fun time area
What's
in
that about
Atlanta.
10? That's 10 years.
Yeah, about a
Yeah.
decade. Yeah. And so for most of that, I'm sleeping like 4 to 5 hours a night the
Yeah.
whole time. So of course, how are you going to have body changes the way you want? How are you going to recover the way that you want? How are you going to hit a hard workout and then not sleep, but 3 hours and you're also drinking, et cetera, et cetera? Like nearly impossible. So I think that when I finally left that full time, it put me in a position where I paid attention to sleep a whole lot more. And Father Doug's yapping was in my ear. But I think also through last two previous girlfriends, same thing. They're like not night owls, right? They're morning risers. And we're both
Mm-hmm.
individuals that like, we gotta be in bed. We gotta be in bed 9 or 10 p.m. at the latest because we got work. We gotta leave for work by 7 or 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think that it is important to get some sleep. I think it's also even more important to understand why. So I'd like to kind of unpack. I don't want to just monologue here. I want to unpack maybe the reasons why you would want to prioritize some more sleep and not buy into the fact that you can just like sleep none for 5 days in a row and then get 15 hours and you're good. Right. Because a lot of
Right.
people do that too. My clients, probably some of your clients, probably some people
Mm-hmm.
we know. One of our other coaches at TruCapacity does that kind of thing. Like no sleep, no sleep, no sleep, no sleep, tons of sleep. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not on the call, but we know who we're talking about here. That is really not a way to set yourself up for the long
Yeah.
run. Right. So maybe, yeah, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like you said, from a coaching standpoint at least, like when you're not getting any sleep, or at least when a client's not getting any sleep, their workouts are going to be shit. Their diet more than likely, or honestly, like your anxiety levels are up, your cravings increase, your circadian rhythms all off, like everything kind of gets messed up internally. And so like if you're already struggling with like cravings or like, binging or something like that, the hormones that go between your brain and your stomach can be kind of off, and those cravings are going to shoot right way up, right? So I mean a lot of times, the nutrition goes off, the exercise goes off, and if it goes on for too long of a period of time, like you're not going to hit goal. It's going to be, or if you do, it's going to be really 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 tough. So yeah, so I mean it's like, I mean like you said, you got a lot of plaque built up there. So just yeah, I mean, sleep is so crucial. I mean, obviously you don't want to, it's not so crucial to the point where like we were talking about before, everything has to be perfect, right? You don't have to get exactly 7 hours or 8 hours of sleep every single night. If something happens, it happens. But when it becomes a consistent thing, that's when it's a problem, just like anything else.
Yeah. I think it's important to note that you shouldn't just, fail to plan and then blame your non-productivity or your non-ability to get things done on your lack of sleep. Because at the end of the day,
Right.
like getting shitty sleep is a pretty big constant for most people that don't plan to get better sleep. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
it's similar to meal prepping or anything else.
I
You
was
have
about
to
to say
plan
that.
ahead. You have to plan ahead. And the way that I've only ever seen this to work is that you go to bed earlier. You do not wake up later. Because at the end of the day, right, you sleeping in is not going to be as deep as it would have if you just went to bed earlier. Because the closer that you can go to bed and rise at the same time, day over day, the more probability or the higher probability there is that you're going to get better sleep over the long run, that you're going to be more well rested, that you're going to have the recovery that you're looking for from the sleep, not be tossing and turning, be super stressed, be in a position where you hate your life when you wake up, right? You don't want to be lethargic after you get up after 6 to 8 hours. But for a lot of people, that is the case. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that, we've got to put a value on looking at going to bed earlier, having a nighttime routine, having a way to wind down and get your ass in bed. But I think it doesn't come down necessarily to, hustle culture or whatever have you, like at all. I think it comes down to you having the discipline similar to getting your steps in the day, similar to hitting a protein goal, similar to caring about the other things. Like without sleep, all of that stuff, it's not frivolous, but it sure won't get you to the same place as it would have if you prioritize the sleep. And so the
Right.
biggest recommendation I would give is just that you go to bed earlier. If you need to catch up, right, which is kind of like it's kind of not real. You're not going to catch up on sleep. But if you're very tired, you're fatigued, right? Go to bed earlier, right? Go to
Mm-hmm.
bed earlier until you get to a point where you don't need to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your body will tell you. At the end of the day, you know if you're fatigued, right? And
Yep.
potentially maybe stop drinking caffeine at 7 p.m. That might help
Right.
too.
Yes. That's a big part of it. And I think that like eventually when you do that for long enough, your body just gets used to it and you're gonna be tired at the time that you're normally going to bed and you're gonna wake up before your alarm goes off, probably like 3 or 4 minutes before, because you get up at the same time every day, you go to bed at the same
Mhm.
time every day. And that's not, we're talking about weekdays and weekends, talking about every single day. Um, I
Yeah.
like the only time that sucks is when we have daylight savings time, and now my body clock's all off because I had like the perfect schedule. I would go to bed at a time, wake up at a time, and now I'm going to bed too late. Now I'm waking up at like 4 in the morning because my body thinks that everything's off. So but yeah, I think having that schedule and getting used to it over time though, you're gonna go to bed and wake up at the same time regardless. Your body's not gonna, your body clock's gonna keep you regulated, I guess.
Yeah.
But
In the long run, not in the short run. I mean, the short run stuff can get all
sure.
fucked up for
Yeah.
sure. Based on
Yeah.
stimulants, based on food, based on digestion,
Yeah.
stress, relationships, etc. Like a lot of stuff short run, like week over week, can change. But I would say striving for, I think you and I are on the same page, striving for a better wind down routine and getting straight to what you need to do in the morning is also extremely important so that you make the most use of the time that you do have your head laid down.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And I think one thing that would be super helpful, I guess we can kind of go through this too, is like what what a routine might look like as far as getting to bed on time. Like it's some things that have helped me is reading before bed, no screens. Like I don't like having a TV in my room at all. Um, Putting your phone maybe on the other side of the room, and if you need like an alarm clock, I mean honestly, if it's on the other side of the room, it'll wake you up sooner because you got to get up and go turn it off. But if you need an alarm clock by your bed, they're like $5. Just get an alarm clock. Um, but yeah, like doing something like that a lot of time, like taking a hot shower before bed. Um, Little things like that help kind of slow my brain down and help me to kind of get settled and ready to go.
Yeah. I can tell you what's going to help you, but it's not me co-signing that I do it.
Yeah,
I know
sure.
that it would be better if I didn't watch TV closer to bed. I know it would be better, and I've really gotten better at this. I don't have overhead lights on within like an hour of the time I'm trying to go to bed. So it's
Okay.
lamps only, right? And it's dimmed light to the best of my ability,
Yeah.
right? Legitimate prescriptive blue light blocking if you have the capability to get that. I know that's a little bit more expensive, but some of these blue light blockers out here are not real, right? And they're not helping you. But I'd say, more soft lit, right? More soft lit, no overhead light because it's a little jarring, right? It's a little jarring to you. Reading, right? Meditation, breath work, etc. All the heady detty stuff that journaling, etc. That like a lot of people pass off or like, oh, that's feminine or that's this or that's that. Like, look, give it a shot, right? If you don't like it after doing it for 7 to 14 days, cool. Like you don't have to keep doing it, but give it a shot, right? Because you really never know how much that stuff could help you. And if you just never start the first time because you think it's too girly, well, you're
Mm.
leaving benefits on the table that a lot of the people that not you, but people in general view as, you know, solid or view as strong men or view as yada yada. They do all those things. They might just not make their life about posting about it, but they do
Yeah.
those things, right?
Yeah.
You think Chris Williamson or more plates more or Derek or Rogan or any of these guys that have been in the limelight for years aren't doing things to set their life in the morning and at night up for success? Do you think they're not
Right.
writing?
Dude, and I don't want to make like a whole podcast on journaling, but I started journaling about 6 months ago. It has completely changed my life. I always kind of looked, I was like, that's not gonna work. How does that work?
Yeah,
Started
that's
doing
this or
it,
that. It's stupid. It's girly. It's whatever. Like I'm a man. Why
whatever.
do I need to do that?
Dude, it puts
Yeah.
everything, at least for me, like my brain is
Mhm.
going a million miles an hour all the time. If I can just put a few of those thoughts onto a piece of paper and I can see them and remove them from here and just put them
Mhm.
in front of me, it helps me deal with so much. And I mean, like we've talked about, you've told me this before, but like if you can write it down, you can articulate it better. So like
Mhm.
whenever I'm able to write down stuff in my journal. I've noticed that even in conversation, like my thoughts are clearer. I can articulate to someone how I'm feeling a lot better because it's just like it just organizes everything. But yeah, journaling in general, I've always been a big advocate for journaling.
Yeah, and with that,
Or
people don't
recently.
say like,
Yeah.
well, so they don't use those repetitive trite words over and over and over. You articulate better, and then also you detach emotionally. Like I believe that a lot of I've got two clients that don't get great sleep, but it's usually coincidentally coupled with a lot of stuff going on in their life. When they have higher stress, they don't sleep as well. Why? Because they're going to bed with all that emotion. They're going to bed with
Mm-hmm.
all that anxiety. They're going to bed with all of that nervousness, right? They also are not writing anything down. Some because they don't want anyone to come across it, right? Others, they just think that it's silly, and that's okay. I can't force anyone to do that, but I can tell you that being in a position where, this is silly or that is silly, and you're not giving it a shot, like I said a minute ago, leaving you high and dry on something that could definitely be beneficial for where you're trying to go. So all in all, I don't want to, again, we don't want to make this about journaling today. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll talk about journaling at some point, but, um, doing what you can to regulate your nervous system, get thoughts out there. For me, it's always been writing. It's always, even if it is just like a pro cons list, like a 4 square grid, right? Opportunity one, opportunity two, pros of both, cons of both, look at them side by side, right? Or a situation, direction one to go, direction two to go, write everything down, right? Pros,
Yeah.
cons of those. Doing that has allowed me to sleep better. Doing that has allowed me to wake up when my alarm goes off. And another thing, if you have a nighttime routine, there's a high probability that you won't snooze your alarm 14 times. If you had shitty going to bed time, shitty, your lights are all on, music is blaring, TV's on, overhead lights are on, you're playing with your phone, you're playing games, there's a high probability that you're going to wake up and then snooze that a few times because you're just still not fully rested.
Yeah.
So for me, for us to sum this up, figure out how to get control of your mind before you go to bed, right? Be in a darker scenario for like 30 minutes to an hour ahead of time, right? Use some form of meditation, whether that's journaling, whether that's breath work, whether that's sitting idly, whether that's stretching, range of motion, etc. Right. And then number 4, go to bed earlier. Go to bed earlier. Period in
Yeah.
the story. Go to bed earlier and try to wake up at the same time. That
And
would be
get some
my
sun.
good.
Sorry. I was just gonna say get some sunlight in your eyes too in the morning.
Yeah,
Can
first
always
thing,
help.
close to the time that you can with the sun coming up, go outside, right? Even if it's for 120 seconds. Do not look at the sun, but look in the direction that the sun is coming from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look out, right? Don't look up, look out. But be in a position to have that sun hit you, right? You will wake up faster. You don't need to guzzle. You don't need to guzzle your coffee. 32 seconds after waking up. You can go outside and drink some water, and then have some coffee. Drink some water, eat some food, then have some coffee. Drink some water, have a protein shake, and have some coffee. I don't know. Any
Yeah.
of those will work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's my recommendation too. Big one there is just getting sunlight in your eyes in the morning because it just your body, your natural like body clock, it can help by the end of the day that your
Yep.
body kind of knows it's time to go to bed.
Put you in a positive position.
Yeah.
If y'all need anything, you know where to find us. We got Facebook group. It's going to be linked below. Um, outside of that, it's Coach Brett Owens on with underscores on them on Instagram. It's James M. Gillespie. If you don't know how to spell that, you suck. And yeah, Facebook group, always free. We have tons of free game to give you,
We did
regardless
a
of what you're struggling with.
training. We did a training on this specifically, or I did in our Facebook group too. So if you want any more information on it, it's
On
in there.
sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We also have a blog post on TC for it. We also have a lead magnet somewhere out there, a VEC that's a little guide that you can use. So be on the lookout for those things. This comes out every single Sunday at the same time, 6 p.m. And we'll see you next week. Appreciate y'all.
Peace.